How's it going, guys? This is episode 4 of Shut Up and Talk to Me. My name's Chris, and I'm with...
Dan. I'm...
Dan?
You are with a Dan.
I'm with a Dan, and we're going to talk about some stuff and give our opinions and thoughts about some actually more interesting cultural topics this time. Not just entertaining.
Less entertaining, yeah.
Yeah, less entertaining, more things that are happening in the world.
Right. Serious stuff.
So one fairly
not
serious... Not politics yet.
Yeah, right.
So one fairly serious thing that's going on that's very big in my life, and we're going to talk about the differences and how it affects how people have viewed it in the media.
Yeah, completely different understandings and experiences with this thing.
Exactly. So I quit smoking 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago.
High five.
Hell yeah. And it was great. And then a few months later...
Smoking or quitting?
Quitting smoking was great. A few months later, I lived with some roommates, and they smoked, and I was hanging out with them a lot, so I started getting cravings all the time, and I was like, what do I do about this? And so I talked to my friend online, and he's like, why aren't you vaping? Like, I've been telling you to vape for years, like, and he has, like, his own shop in Virginia and everything. And he's like, I've been telling you to do this forever, like, why aren't you doing it? And he's like, you can do it with no nicotine. And I was like, what? And it was just like this...
Right, just flavor.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. He's like, trust me, it'll help, like, it'll curb everything. So I went to a shop, I ordered just a little cheapy pen online, and it was awful. Like, it didn't really do anything.
It's just disappointment in stick form.
Yeah, it was really disappointing. And then I actually went into a vape shop to try out some different juices and stuff, different flavors, and that's when I saw, like, the actual vaporizers that worked.
Like Big Kid.
The big boy vaporizers, yeah. So I started vaping, and it helped me stay off, because I would have started smoking again. Like, it would have happened. Like, I was getting cravings that bad.
Yeah, so
I
actually quit. Well, so it's like I smoked for a little while.
Right.
And even, like, and I
smoked for 14 years.
You smoked for 14 years. So, like, everybody I know that smoked way longer than me. Like, I smoked solidly for, like, 2 years or something. Right. And, like, even when I quit, I was like, fuck, like, I really had craving. Like, I really remember just being like, fuck, I really want a cigarette.
Yeah. And it's just... It was something that was, like, such a main part of your life. Like, you woke up in the morning, you had that first cigarette. It was great.
Right, like, the routine was, like...
Yeah, the routine behind
so
smoking
hard to break.
It was ridiculous. You got in the car to drive, you light up a cigarette. Everything you did...
your post-meal cigarette.
Yeah.
Like the one you did when you got home.
Like, the great one, yeah. After you ate a meal. Amazing, right?
I really want a cigarette now.
No, so I started vaping, and it was one of the best things that came into my life for a long time. It became a hobby. It helped. It worked. I loved it. I loved the community at the time. And I still love the community, don't get me wrong, but I'm not into it as I was back then, even though I still vape.
You weren't new to it, so it had like that, oh, I'm into this new thing, and there's all these people that are into it, and it's always great when you show up and there's a million people that are like, hey, welcome aboard. And you're like,
exactly,
right.
So you're talking to everyone. Okay, so this was a thing that regulated itself. Okay, so we regulated it to the point, I actually started working at a vape shop. Up in Aurora, Colorado.
You doubled down.
Yep, I doubled down, and it was just like you do the things you love in life, when it comes to work, and it was something I loved at the time, and it became this other thing because I loved helping people quit smoking. Like, it was amazing to see the results.
Like actual, like you could feel those results. Like people would come
back and give you hugs, like you saved my life, like. This is, like, I feel so much better. It's ridiculous.
Awesome.
I remember when I switched to vaping, I quit smoking for a couple of months. But vaping, right when you start, propylene glycol acts kind of like scrubbing bubbles on your lungs. It really does. And they actually pump it in the hospitals. It's one of the main ingredients in albuterol inhalers.
Oh, wow.
So it really does act like scrubbing bubbles on your lungs and opens them up. Anyways, yeah, it really works. So we regulate, like I said earlier, we regulated it ourselves. We didn't sell to minors.
Oh yeah, so
we were on top of it like it was already regulated by the FDA. Well, here comes the FDA now.
To actually regulate it.
To actually regulate, which we would have been fine with if they came at this regulation with, like, to give like a metaphor for it, like if they came at it with a scalpel instead of a freaking sledgehammer.
Yeah. Or hell, even if they just shown up and said, "Hey, vape people, what are you guys doing?" and gone from there.
Yeah. But they didn't do much research, and it leads to a lot of misinformation going around, and it's not good.
Well, I assume they did some kind of research, but it wasn't useful.
No.
It doesn't seem like they made any public. They just kind of, I don't know, read social media? Like, I don't know what they did for research.
We have no freaking idea. So, so they have the deeming regulations, right? They're coming. It's officially something that's going to start on August 8th. This is the beginning of what they're implementing, okay? August 8th.
So that's like less than a week from now.
Yeah. And people are calling it, people in the industry are calling it the end of creativity, because they're not going to be able to make new flavors. And this is a big thing. When you start vaping, you kind of have to find either a type of flavor that you really like, because you don't really want to, like, the last thing you want when you vape is something that tastes like tobacco.
Yeah.
Because there are tobacco flavors out there, and there are people that enjoy them, and good for them, that's fine. But most of us like the candy. We like the desserts. We like the whatever you can think of.
After a lifetime of like burnt leaves, you're like, I could get some other flavors going here.
Exactly. So they're not going to be able to do this after August 8th. No more creation of anything. No more innovation in the whole world of vaping at all.
And why is that?
Well, the FDA is coming in, and they have this thing called PMTAs, and they are pre-market tobacco applications. And you need them for every single device or flavor in a nicotine amount that gets released. These PMTAs cost between $250,000 and $1 million.
And
one PMTA.
So to mix some food flavoring and it's polyethylene glycol and
not polyethylene.
No, what is it?
It's propylene glycol.
Propylene glycol
vegetable glycerin.
Vegetable glycerin.
Yep, those are the two proprietary ingredients, and then you add your third proprietary. I guess it is proprietary.
But yeah.
Well, it's not, but yeah. The third ingredient is natural and artificial food flavorings.
Yeah, I was going to say, so it's like, to put these three things together
with nicotine. Or without.
But yeah, so even without, right? Like, yep. That's where the real problem is that it's even without. So to mix two mostly inert chemicals in humans that the FDA has previously approved for humans to have in them.
Yep.
And food flavoring, which is food flavoring.
But this is a new form. So they're looking at it differently. They call it ENDS, E-N-D-S.
Okay.
I can't remember what that stands for exactly, but it's like a nicotine delivery system, basically. I don't remember what the E stands for.
Oh, okay. Electronic?
Yes, probably.
There we go.
Yay, Dan! He helps.
I picked the word that always is represented by E.
Right? So basically, it's going to kill innovation across the board because companies can't afford this, especially local. I mean, this is such a thing that revolves around small business.
What? So we probably should have looked into it. What is like a microbrewery? Like what does it cost to become a microbrewery? I bet it's not $1 million.
No, I have no idea. I quit drinking, so I don't care about beer anymore.
Yeah, but I just thought about that. Like
that's a good point, but
like microbrewing something that. Like a whole big complex thing and has alcohol and all this shit in it. Like, I bet they don't have to spend $1 million to get a new beer out in the world.
No, not at all. The FDA is actually really lax with other stuff. When a new prescription drug comes on the market, and we're going to talk a little bit about if the FDA is really for public health or as they tout, or if it's for financial gain.
Wow.
You're
whatever. We'll get there. Yeah.
Exactly. This is a mess. So it's essentially a ban. We got about 2 years from August 8th.
Well, so it's a ban it's a ban by what is I should have looked it up. There's actually like a word for like a way of describing things when you're banning something, but you're not banning it. But
Right.
you make it so impossible to do that.
That's exactly
like
what they're doing.
3 people on Earth can ever make flavors for vaping anymore.
Yep. And so once you do start, if you do comply, which I don't think any shop, anyone really should comply. If no one complies and they make big lawsuits out of everything, this can actually be a thing that's saved, and that's what they're working on. And I encourage people to look into it. Even if you're not a vapor, look into the FDA deeming regulations on vaping.
Yeah.
Because it's absolutely ridiculous. You can go to august8th.org, and you can find all the information there that you'll ever need. So there's a couple things about this, right? Not only does it kill innovation because companies are gonna, its grandfather date is 2007.
Yeah, that's a super, super far back. Like
it's 9 years.
Anything that's come along in vaping since 2007 is regulated by this.
It's been constant innovation since about 2010, 2011. Sorry, folks, look at my phone.
Dude, people he knows are really, they need to talk about vaping.
So yeah, I'm really upset about it because this is something I had a really big passion for when I worked in the industry, and I still have a passion for it, but
it's still a thing you do, it's still a thing you care about, it's still a piece of your
life.
Okay,
so this is by far the best cessation tool that has ever been released or created.
Yeah.
Okay. Our other cessation tools that you would know of, if you're not aware what a cessation tool is, would be like Nicorette, the gum.
Or the patches, like the nicotine patches.
Nicoderm, yeah. The patches.
Or whatever.
Chantix, the prescription pill that gives people freaking night terrors.
You're right, I've seen some pretty rough commercials for that, like...
Everything,
you're gonna stop smoking, but you're feeling like you're on fire. Like,
all of these other cessation devices, or whatever you want to call it, they're ridiculous, and they barely work.
That's what I want to say. I remember... More crap I probably should have looked up. Research, kids, do some of that. But like, I want to say that I remember people saying like, yeah, the success rates with those things are actually really low, like really low,
super low, like under like
single
5%.
digit. Yeah, like.
Anyways, so with that, Addiction Magazine printed a study/survey type of thing that they did, and the results say there's an estimated. Sorry, Dan's being ridiculous right now.
I'm sorry, yeah.
There's an estimated 6.1 million smokers have quit smoking and transitioned to vaping. And a lot of them stuck with the cessation part of it to where they completely quit. Right now, like, I didn't even bring my vape tonight because I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Like, I looked at it and I was like, don't need to grab that.
Yeah.
I just didn't need it. Sometimes I need it, sometimes I don't. Like, it's just one of those things. And... I'm sighing because there's so much to this.
It really is huge. Like we do notes for this, and there's a ton of notes, and they bring up like we wrote all these things down, and there's all these weird facets, and there's like these crazy regulations and rules. Like what? I kind of just forgot what we were actually talking about right before I started talking. Like what were there were some other crazy rules that are being imposed.
Oh yeah, so a shop employee at a vape shop.
This is nuts.
This is ridiculous, okay? By law, through the FDA, they cannot tell customers about possible health benefits via vaping.
Yeah, like you can't say like, hey, this won't kill you and it's super better than cigarettes.
Yeah, you can't talk about it. Like, this is ridiculous. This is First Amendment bullshit. Like, you can't... I don't know how they're going to enforce this. It sounds ridiculous. It blows my mind. At a vape shop, you cannot repair a vaporizer for someone anymore.
Yeah, which is
and these are the people with the most experience.
Yeah, right. Like the people.
We repaired things every day, so we had it down pat. We knew. We looked at a vaporizer, we'd be like, "Yeah, this is what's wrong with it."
When your car breaks, you go to a mechanic. When your vape breaks, you go to
a vape shop,
and they fix your shit for you. That's what it's there for.
Exactly, and we fixed it for free. We didn't even charge for it. Now, if you do it, you're considered a tobacco manufacturer.
Which is...
How on earth am I manufacturing tobacco?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't really...
Exactly. They can't build coils, and coils are the main thing. That's how vaping works. Coils is something that is necessary to be able to vape.
It's the heating element, right?
It's the heating element that creates the vapor with the cotton. What else, man? There's no more free sampling for juices anymore, which is one of the main things that you went to a vape shop for.
Yeah, it was just...
I'm going to try a bunch of juice out, get a new one, see if I can find my ADV, which is it's an acronym for All Day Vape.
Okay,
which some people do stick to, and they have. Where I have like 40 bottles of juice of different flavors I like.
Yeah, no.
Some people will always buy the same flavor.
No, I would totally be
time.
like, if it were me, I would just be like, nope, I found this one. I'm too lazy to fuck around with these other things.
And that's fine. Yeah. A lot of people did it. But now, it's going to be a lot harder to find that when you're forced to pay. And they have to run it through their point-of-sale system.
Yeah, it has to go through their point-of-sale system.
Yeah.
And it's per sample, per visit, or just per visit? Like
visit, as far as I know.
Which is...
But you can't do like a monthly club.
No, yeah, you can't do like a prepay system where it's just like, you give us like $10 and then you get all the free samples you want all the way. No, which is...
Exactly.
This is like basic business functionality that they're getting into. Like, I don't understand how that even...
They're cutting into it, and this is how they're trying to kill it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Big Pharma is a big part of how they're trying to kill this. And relating
big
to
tobacco.
That... Yeah, relating to... I mean... Big tobacco is actually, they're the lesser of the evils that we're faced with here. It really is Big Pharma. The Royal College of Physicians, with 30,000 of the top physicians in the world, basically, put out a study, clinical, thorough study that said vaping is 95% healthier than smoking. If it was even 5% healthier than smoking, it would be worth it.
Yeah, that's...
Because people die constantly from cigarettes. It's one of the top 10 deaths in the world.
Look, for anyone that doesn't know, we figured it out. They give you cancer, they kill you. They're real bad for you.
There is absolutely no carcinogens in vaping in any way.
Yeah, like I said, what is it?
Propylene glycol.
Why do I keep wanting the poly? But anyways, propylene glycol and the other one,
vegetable glycerin.
Like, they're like what? Like VG is inert. I want to say I read that it's like completely.
It is inert
within people. Like, it has no effect on you at all.
Yep.
Unless you really go out of your way to do something crazy with it.
Yeah.
And the whatever.
Propylene glycol. You can call it PG.
PG, yeah. So the PG, like, I don't know if it's inert, but I feel like it's pretty damn close. Like,
it's damn close.
Yeah, like these things.
So I vape no nick. Okay, if I vape one nick, which is just it's the lowest of the low, I get like that buzzy head rush right away. So nothing happens when I take a hit off of a 0 milligram vaporizer. Absolutely nothing.
No, except that you get flavor.
Great flavor comes in, great flavor goes out. That's that. I'm happy. And they're trying to take it away, and they're going to effectively. They're going to tax the crap out of it. They're going to do everything they can to kill this.
They've made it prohibitively expensive to even operate in the field.
Yep. And like I said earlier, this is very small business based, and these businesses are going to be crushed. And a lot of them have already shut down. Yeah,
I was going to say, like, this is... Because I was talking to you about this, and kind of looking into things, and, like, there really isn't, like, a huge... There's not, like, big vape, right? Like, there's not...
No. So now we've created a good amount of groups of advocacy groups to help fight this. I mean, that's it. That's why they're there. They're not pushing an agenda. The agenda they're pushing is be healthier. This makes us healthier.
They're not pushing an agenda yet. Like today.
Okay, yeah, maybe in the future, whatever. No, but right now,
like, this is totally
a small thing,
Just as like that tangential topic, like this is totally where something down the line is like, oh my god, those people that like that vape advocacy group, they'll be horrible in 10 years. But today, the only thing they're pushing is just that, hey, this regulation is nuts. Like, that's it.
Absolutely.
And it's super grassroots. This is super decentralized. It's all like small business. Like, this is a very... I mean, I already said decentralized. I'm trying to look at it's a very community level, like hobby. Like, this is all just super community level, and it's really helpful.
Yeah, so it becomes a hobby once you really get it. If you want to, you can start building your own coils and making all sorts of crazy stuff.
But even the people that just do like vape, I mean, they're still part of the community, and it still becomes a hobby via. It's still a. I mean, it's just like it's like smoking. besides being an addiction, is still like a hobby. I mean, it's this thing that you do. You take time out of your day to do it.
Yeah.
So vaping is this thing that you take time out of your day in some way to
You're
do,
right.
whether or not you're building coils or not.
You're right. Yeah, it is still technically a hobby, and you can get like all. You buy what you like. You get different. It's like going to buy a car.
This is like a huge.
You customize it however you want, and you can really customize these things now. Like, it's ridiculous in an amazing way.
Because when you were working there, like, I did hang out with you a few times when we were working there, and I saw you like playing with these things and all this stuff, and it's like there's a huge range of like. And if you want to be like an electrician and get super deep into like the electronics of it,
you can build boxes and sell them. I mean, I know people that these are their jobs that they're messing with, that are going to be gone, like, because they can't pay $250,000.
Yeah, hey, for everybody out there that worries about job creation, we're going to need a whole bunch of new jobs now.
Yeah, because thousands of people are in the next 2 years. This is where that's when the official everything is going to be implemented.
In 2010, then?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
it starts.
So you can look up as well the Bishop Cole Amendment, and this is one thing that would help us. I don't really want to get into that, but you can look it up if you want, if you're interested in saving a very vital, important, life-saving business potentially.
Okay.
The last thing I want to say on that is, I mean, I know so many people that this has helped, and no one has anything negative to say about it.
It's like
there are people, there's people that like to blow big clouds, and I agree they shouldn't be doing that in front of supermarkets or next to other people. Like, it's ridiculous. Be an adult.
But that's just being an asshole.
Like, that's you can be an asshole with a cigarette.
Yeah, you can be an asshole with a lot of things. Like, we don't ban shit because people are assholes.
No.
And
we ban shit in America. We ban shit because things are healthy for you.
Well,
look at vitamin B11. Like, it's literally known to help cure cancer, and it's the only B vitamin that's banned. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous how the FDA have to.
It's like MSG is banned here.
Exactly. So an idea of how the FDA works, the Federal Drug Administration. Mm-hmm. So when you look at drug, let's talk about pills, okay? Pills are bad, and they're becoming a very bad thing in this country, in the world.
Pills can be bad, and the way we treat them is certainly making them bad.
Exactly. So the way the FDA works, here's an example. To get a drug passed so you can get it into being created,
yes,
you need two positive studies.
He's got his fingers up.
This is how I'm so frustrated about this. You need 2 positive studies to prove that this is good for the public.
Regardless,
amongst thousands of things negative studies that are like, this is terrible for you. This gives people night terrors. This makes people walk in their sleep and freaking potentially kill people and drive cars while they're sleeping.
Yeah, but like all of the depression pills whose side effect is more depression.
All the depression pills whose side effect are suicide.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? This is absolutely ridiculous how this administration works. It's
institution. I'm gonna go with that.
Whatever. And that's what we're gonna say about vaping for now. I mean, it's fundamentally getting banned, and do what you can to save it if you want to. You can at least go sign a petition, send a letter to a senator with, like, they already have, like, pre-written letters where you just add your name electronically. So go to august8.org and check it out. Help us save vaping, because it's helping a lot of people in this world.
It's at least stop it from getting completely banned.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You don't have to help save it, or just allow people to, I don't know, cooler minds to prevail, I guess, at this point, because this seems so massive in scope and so fundamentally just broken in how it's being implemented. Like, this is, even if you don't care about vaping at all, just say, hey, maybe the government agencies shouldn't work this way. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, just anything. Just throw some support out. Just go talk to people, like, learn something about it. I mean, something.
Exactly. So, okay. Among that, let's switch gears.
That was vaping. We're done being angry.
We're done being angry for now.
We're done being angry.
I'm going to get a little angry later. We'll talk about that. But right now, we're going to hop to TV. There's a new show that I started watching. It's not a new show. It came out in 2011.
Yeah, well, it's new to us.
It's British. So we really didn't hear about it.
Yeah, I heard nothing. Like, I didn't, because you brought it up a week or two ago.
Yeah, my therapist brought it up to me. It was just like, I think you would enjoy this. And it's like this super dark show, so it's kind of ironic.
Like, why?
That's like a therapist. And she mentioned that, like, on my next visit. She's like, I don't know if I should have brought that up, but I did. And I was like, I fucking love it.
It's
so
awesome.
Thank you. This show is called Black Mirror. And it's essentially a modern day Twilight Zone / Outer Limits-y type thing.
Yeah, if you're familiar with either of those.
That is very based on technology.
Yeah, so
how we use technology.
So the Netflix description was super on the nose, which was it's a show about and I completely forgot it. It's not my mind. No, it is like a show about our relationship with technology and like human interaction. I want to say
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that's.
And they like that's perfect a description of what's going on in at least the first few episodes, right?
Yeah. Oh, I've watched 6 of them now.
Oh, so you've seen the whole thing. So that's the other thing.
Almost the whole thing.
There's only 7 total episodes. Yeah, 7 total episodes. They come out like a few years apart. There were like 3, and then they came out a few years apart. Another few came out.
That's how British TV works. It's really awkward and random how they do releases, and if they decide to keep shows on the air, and it's really weird. And they watch a lot of American TV out there, and it's just like
because ours is super consistent.
Yeah, we're very consistent, so they need that, and it's like, why don't you just start making your own stuff, because it's usually pretty good.
Just make it consistent because everybody loves it. Just ship it over. Like, put it all on Netflix. Everyone will see it in America. It's fine.
So, just saying that, now that it's on Netflix, it has been picked up for 12 more episodes now.
Yeah, so they're going to they're buckling down and making it a real
American
thing.
directors coming in on it now. I'm not sure.
So now it'll be bad, but...
Not necessarily. I mean, one of them is one of my favorite current directors. We'll go on about that in a minute. But let's talk a little bit about the first episode and what you thought of it.
I liked it. I mean, like, just as a generic, completely useless statement to most people, is like, I really enjoyed it. I thought they did it was paced really well. The acting was pretty spot on for that first episode. Yeah. Like, the plot line was totally that, like, believable enough to be like a Twilight Zone episode where you're just like, okay, this is I'll like, it's a little bit kind of ridiculous, goofy, but at the same, and they kind of gloss over a few things that would, like, if you really stand, you're like, well, how did that happen? But, like,
right,
they kind of, it's glossed over enough, and they kind of, because it's not about that. It's not about the minutia. It's about the, like, how people are and how we behave and how we interact.
Very much so, and you'll get into that episode 5. I think you'll really
really goes deep into that. Okay,
yeah. And it's worth saying that, you know, as it is a Twilight Zone type show, that every episode has a different set of actors, characters. It's all completely different stories.
Yeah, there's no continuity. If there is any continuity, it's really far away. Like,
the only continuity is that they're all kind of based on technology.
Yeah, it's a continuity of theme, not a continuity of story.
Exactly.
Cool.
I mean, this first episode is pretty dark. In a lot of ways,
it is pretty dark.
You know, I want to say you could recommend this to horror fans as well as science fiction fans.
Science fiction, horror, drama.
Yeah, drama, thrillery.
Thriller. That's much better. Yeah, it's thrillery.
Yeah, let's.
Thrillery 16. But anyway,
Thrillery Clinton. No. It's something that we're going to recommend to pretty much everyone at this point. Like, just check it out. I don't know how many people are watching it. As long as you're kind
of a grown-up, it's not for kids.
Okay.
Like, I was like, it's not for kids
it's not
at all.
for kids, no.
But
you know, if you're an adult and you want to see just an amazing show that you can watch just one episode a month if you wanted to. You don't have to sit there and
there's 6 of them. You don't have to binge it in. There's no story, so you can just take these in at your leisure. Like,
exactly. Like, that's how it works really well in that manner to me. And it does talk a lot about, you know, human nature and our relationship with technology.
And it does. And I mean, this is 2011, and they're, like, nailing exactly the things that we're dealing with now.
With Facebook and Twitter.
With specifically social media. Like.
Yeah, I mean, in the first episode, they focus on that quite a bit. They talk about lot of social media, a lot of Twitter, Facebook. It's something happens in the first episode where worldwide it spreads like fire.
Yeah, that was
via viral video, isn't it?
Yeah, so it was. They were like, yeah, this thing came up on YouTube, and it was there for 9 minutes before we took it down. And that was more than enough. It got uploaded and reloaded.
Because
and,
people downloaded it and then re-uploaded
immediately, and they put it up, and 50,000 people had seen this thing, and it just spread like wildfire immediately.
So basically, the essential plot point, without ruining it, is that the Prime
Minister, yeah.
Well, the Queen's daughter.
Yeah,
the Queen's daughter, a princess in England, has been abducted. And there is a ransom of sorts that the Prime Minister, he needs to accomplish something for the princess to let go.
Yeah, for her to be released, he has to do something, and it's not something anybody wants to do.
No, it's pretty disgusting and disturbing, but they do a very good job of not showing the super disgusting stuff.
Yeah,
and more of
because again, that's not what the show's about. It's it's about people and interactions.
Yep,
like technology and stuff. So again, they do a really good job of focusing on the things that the show is supposed to focus on.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so the whole episode is about them trying to deal with trying to find the princess and trying to
find
avoid
her,
a lot of things,
trying to avoid what this Prime Minister has to do.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's one of the most unique shows I've seen in a long time.
It was. I absolutely agree with that. It was very unique, and I liked it.
Yeah, and it's a plot point that it stuck with me, and I'm like, man, this is great. This is great. I love that Netflix really picked it up now. Now that I guess they're seeing viewership on it, and they're like,
yeah, it sounds money off this. They're continuing this thread of actually doing a good job with the show beyond the first episode. So
yeah, definitely. I've enjoyed every episode thus far. I think a few have stumbled in minor ways, but that's it.
Yeah, stuff that's not enough to.
No episode has failed yet.
Yeah,
at all.
Which is fantastic. I mean, it's a pretty small sample size, and it would be a pretty damning thing to be like, oh, it's broken. But anyway, I don't know. You're pointing at me.
I'm trying to tell you to read your notes, but
okay.
It's whatever. Basically, the one about how everyone's on board with something.
Yeah. So this is. Kind of, so they talk a lot about technology in the episode. They bring up Twitter and YouTube and all the social media stuff. But then, the theme I would almost say the theme of the episode ultimately is that the human interaction bit of the show was that everybody is, especially in the internet, digital age, information age, social media age.
Yeah.
Everybody's on board with the idea of really horrifying things.
People talk about revolutions.
Yeah, seriously, but people are super fine with war, and they're super fine. They're total war's totally fine, and just everybody's on board with these really horrifying ideas until they actually have to face them. As long as these things live in that theoretical space, everybody's totally fine with it. The death penalty is great for everyone for every crime, and total war's fine, and all these horrible things, and then. The second you actually have to sit there and it's in your life and you're most people do not continue to be for it.
Yeah.
You really quickly flip. It's actually why in a lot of wars in the past and wars currently happening, there's usually media bans on what kind of imagery comes out of wars, because if people actually have to look at it, they're not on board with it. Most people don't continue to support horrifying things.
Yeah, it's just what it is.
But this episode, the first episode of Black Mirror really kind of goes into how people are just woo, terrible things are great, and then they're not when you actually have to think about it.
And did you watch anything past the first episode yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I've got 1,200 other shows that I'm watching.
I know. And we're going to get into another one of those in a second.
Here we are.
I did want to mention one more thing. He's kind of just a guy I really enjoy everything that he's done, but he did a lot of really good stuff just for internet TV back in the day. He had a show called The Totally Rad Show that he did with Alex Albrecht, who got pretty big on like G4 and stuff like that.
I watched G4.
Yeah,
I had the internet.
Doesn't exist anymore. And another gentleman, Jeff Canada, and so they had this show that is kind of what our podcast is, where they talk about entertainment. They talk about games they're playing, movies they watched, they review stuff.
It's a show that's like our podcast has been so far.
Basically, yes, so far. And this guy, they talked about him like really aspiring to be a director.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly, and he did short films a lot, but I never saw any of these short films. I looked him up even. I couldn't find anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then a movie came out called 10 Cloverfield Lane, and
which you may have heard of.
Yeah, you may have heard of it. It's kind of related to Cloverfield. I feel like they kind of...
That was, I heard, because I haven't seen it, but I heard that was kind of just a name grab almost.
It's kind of,
yeah.
At the end of the movie, they do allude to what happens in Cloverfield, with all the monsters and stuff. But it really is a movie just about three people, and how they interact with each other. It's like, absolutely brilliant.
Almost kind of in the same vein as Black Mirror. It's the minutia of that movie is super background, and it's all about people doing things based around that minutia that they don't really mention.
Exactly. And that what leads me to my point is that Dan Trachtenberg, the guy that I'm really fond of, is going to direct one of the 12 episodes coming up.
Cool.
And we also have some other fairly minor to big names that are going to be involved with the new episodes, so it's going to be pretty interesting. And I can't wait to see what happens next with this show.
I am going to get around to the rest of this. The first episode got me. It pulled me in.
We're recording pretty late tonight, and I'm going to go home and still watch another episode, the last episode. But there's a show that you watched that I kind of wrote it off as a kid's show.
Which is very easy to do.
Yeah, and I can say that I've never seen a full episode. I've seen parts of episodes.
I showed you 30 seconds earlier.
You showed me a clip earlier, and I laughed out loud. Like, I really enjoyed it. But go ahead and talk about it.
Hell. So the show is Teen Titans Go. It's a Cartoon Network show. It's based on a DC superhero team.
Yeah.
The Teen Titans, aptly named.
Which is they seem to be pretty close to the Justice League at first glance, just because of who's involved a little bit.
Well, yeah, so I don't know if they're close to the Justice League, but they're definitely a super team.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah. And it's so previously Teen Titans was a show. There was a Teen Titans cartoon show on Cartoon Network from 2003 to 2000, whatever 5 seasons later was, 2008. And
it was a solid show. Like, it started off pretty rough.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it started off pretty rough, and then it just got, I heard, because I haven't actually seen that show.
It became great.
Yeah, I heard
was
that,
really well done. It's what made me start watching these adult theme-ish Cartoon Network Disney shows.
Especially Cartoon Network.
Like Star Wars, The Clone Wars, the other Star Wars one, Rebels, The Legend of Korra, Avatar, stuff like that really, really worked.
So again, that was all Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network's really good at doing...
No, Star Wars was Disney.
Was it? No, this was before then. Clone Wars was on Cartoon Network.
Oh, yeah. I watched it on Netflix, so...
So it was for as far as you care, it's Netflix. So.
Exactly.
But yeah, so there was a show, and it ended up being really good. Like, people really liked the character development and the story, like the themes. Yeah. It was this really great show. And then they killed it after 5 seasons with a bunch of cliffhangers, and a bunch of people were really unhappy about that. And then this new show comes around.
Talk about it.
Yeah, we'll just gloss over that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But then years later, so I want to say 2.5 years ago-ish, so 6 years later, I guess, after this original Teen Titans show, Teen Titans Go gets picked up and becomes a show, and it's freaking the opposite. There actually are, there's a ton of adult themes in there. That's what really pulls me in is they deal with a lot of adult stuff.
Right.
But they deal with it in that really streamlined way so that it works for kids as well. They can actually get something out of it. The adults can pull something out of it.
And the animation is very
it's got
for
that,
kids.
Yeah, it's the really popular Flash style animation that just blew up.
Powerpuff Girls really helped.
Yeah, the Powerpuff. Yeah, so the early 2000s, kind of late the aughts. Like, what do we call the
I
zero
don't know
zeros?
what
I
the
call them the
heck we call
aughts.
those.
Yeah,
the
like...
aughts. Oh, it sounds so bad.
It sounds awful.
The
But
early
anyways,
2000s.
yeah, the early 2000s, like that flash style animation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like yelling. There's a lot of like goofy just motion, and like it really is presentation wise. It's totally what you would expect from a kids show. Like there's things moving and there's colors and like
ADHD-ish.
Yeah, there's not shading. Like it's that really ADHD, but really primary colors and really like big. Like everybody's got their own silhouette. They all stand out. Like. It's
He literally just saw me catch a notification on my computer, and then I winced, and then my phone made a noise. That was hilarious. Okay, go on.
But it was, yeah, so, and the show comes in 11-minute episodes, which for a long time were broadcast 2 at a time. So, I mean, it comes in a half-hour block.
And this is something that Cartoon Network mastered in the Adult Swim blocks.
A lot of the 11-minute shows are all over the place in Adult Swim.
Aqua Teen was probably one of the first ones.
Aqua Teen, Frisky Dingo, like...
Frisky
I can't remember the old ones. I love Frisky Dingo
now
so
all I
much.
can do is think about Frisky Dingo. We'll talk about that later.
At some point, yeah, and like... But it's, they're really good at these 11-minute blocks, and it really works to Teen Titans' strengths.
Right.
Or like it is a strength of Teen Titans Go because they get into like some topic and they start like if it were a full episode it would kind of wear on you.
Right.
Like how long that they're doing this thing. You're like 23 minutes of this? Jesus.
Yeah.
But like because it's 11 minutes they just go balls to the wall. They tear through these topics. It leads to really funny just ways of moving the story forward and people dealing with each other. And a lot of times there's just complete non-endings. Like so it's I'm gonna do like there's a quick recap I'm gonna do of an episode. It's episode 9. Okay. It's called Ghost Boy, and it's episode 9 in the 11-minute block. So it actually was the 5th episode that aired.
Okay.
Yeah, the half-hour episodes.
Interesting.
So this is right at the beginning of Teen Titans Go.
They would do half-an-hour blocks that contain 2 episodes.
Yeah, that contain 2 episodes apiece.
I didn't know that.
Cartoon Network has lately fallen into doing 11-minute episodes just like with reruns of another 11-minute episode.
Right.
But like early on...
It's a great idea marketing-wise.
No, yeah, it works because it's like, especially for shows that, like Steven Universe where there's continuity and stuff, they'll do like, oh, here's the new episode and here's the episode that was before it. And you're like, oh, well then I know, you get like that immediate...
You catch up, yeah.
Yeah, immediate catch up and it's only 11 minutes long, so... doesn't bother you.
Bite size, it's really easy to take in, yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, this episode, Ghost Boy, Beast Boy, one of the members, convinces another member...
Is he the green one?
He's the green one, yeah.
Okay, I was wondering what his name was.
So yeah, so the Justice League connection that we were talking about earlier is that Cyborg is one of the members.
Yeah.
Who's in the Justice League movie. Other members are Robin of Batman and Robin.
Yep.
Starfire, who's an alien who has like super strength and laser eyes and can fly, and she's got that generic power set. Raven, who is half demon and is primarily magic based.
Yeah, she seemed pretty cool.
She's pretty cool, and then she's like a really like the downer, calm, kind of like stereotypically gothy kind of character. Okay. Yeah. And Beast Boy, who's it turns into animals. Like he shapeshifts. Yeah, he's a complete goofball. He shapeshifts into animals. I assume he has other animal powers. Like they don't really like all their powers are just kind of there for comedic effect in this show. Right. Like it really doesn't matter. But like the shows are really a lot of their personalities is what matters, and not so much their powers. And there's barely ever like enemies that they deal with.
Right.
But yeah, so. This episode, one day that I'll recap, is Ghost Boy, and Beast Boy convinces Starfire that she killed him, like as a mosquito.
Okay.
Yeah, she kills a mosquito and does something, and she thinks it's him, and then he convinces her that it was him, and that he came back as a ghost. And she's super gullible, and she's like, oh my god, he's a ghost, and he gets through all this crap. And then the rest of the team figures out that he's just bullshitting her.
Yeah.
So then they bullshit him back. They put him in a coffin, and he wakes up after sleeping, and he's like, holy shit, did I die? And like they all ignore him, and he's got like a transparency spell cast on him, so he can't like touch things. So,
that's great.
Yeah, so he thinks he's a ghost, and they're all like, we totally got him. He like runs out of the room freaking out, and then he comes back and he's like, oh, now that I'm a ghost, I can do that thing I always wanted to, jump in a volcano.
What?
So he just runs off.
So irreverent.
Yeah, and they're like, what is he talking? Oh god, he's not. By the time he gets there, it's gonna wear off, and he's just gonna die. So they go chasing after him to get him to not jump into this volcano. And on the way there, one by one, every member of the Teen Titans dies.
What?
So,
is this one of those things where they like have serial deaths? Like they die often?
Not often, but this actually comes up more than you think it should.
Okay.
So like it's not a recurring joke or anything, but like they go after him to stop him, and they just die one by one. Like one of them gets mauled by an animal. Cyborg gets killed by like a random leopard that's on the volcano. Robin just falls like 50 stories to his death. Like Raven and Starfire both get killed by lasers from the sky there's just lasers from the sky.
That's great.
So everybody dies, and they're all ghosts, and they get up there and they're like, Beast Boy, don't jump in this volcano. You're not actually a ghost. And he's like, yeah, I know. I was just pranking you guys.
Are you kidding me?
No.
That's great. That's such a good payoff. That's such a good payoff.
No, it's not the payoff.
But they all died.
Yeah, so they're all dead.
So who tells him?
No. So they're ghosts now. So they come back as ghosts.
Okay.
And they tell him like, oh, you're in like, and he's like, I know, I was just pranking you guys. They're like, what? We died, you dick. And he's like, yeah, that's pretty crazy. And then he slips and falls in the volcano. So then he dies, and he's like, oh, that's so lame. And then they just laugh at him, and they're like, that's hilarious. You're dead now. And it goes to black. Like
that's the end.
We know. So you're like, well, that's ridiculous. And then it comes back from black for a few seconds, and they're all sitting there just kind of down, and they're like, what now? And then it goes to credits. That's the end.
Okay, so this sounds pretty great.
And that's how they started the series. Like but that was episode 5. They killed everybody and just left it on, well, they're all dead. And then they just go on to the next episode. Like, the show it's irreverent. It does not care about continuity. It's not trying to be serious. Like, the whole rest of the DC universe is trying to be this grimdark, like, they're really trying to be serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really trying to be serious. And Teen Titans Go is the exact opposite. Like, they just don't care. It's all about, like, jokes and just having fun. And the best comparison I can make is for, like, anybody that, like, read comics in the late 90s and early 2000s, is it's exactly what Deadpool did.
Okay.
So in the late 90s, early 2000s, or just the 90s in general, was like all comics, Marvel, DC, everybody just got super serious. They started taking themselves seriously. And it ends up feeling not serious at all because everybody's always just brooding and angry.
And then Deadpool
showed up, and he was just breaking the fourth wall and just being ridiculous and making jokes at everybody's expense. And that's why Deadpool became popular, because everything was just grimdark crap. That's exactly what
this comic relief that we really needed.
Yeah, and because he was the only comic relief, and everybody focused on. He just got huge and became this really big character.
Even though like his storylines aren't great, like
not great. Yeah,
his comics really aren't that great. It's more the character is great and how they presented him initially.
Well, yeah, and because of the environment that he was born in, like he was such a like unique beacon of just like lightheartedness in this just giant boulder of crushing like seriousness.
Right. So I can see how you can easily compare that to what they're doing with the DC films.
Yeah, the DC films.
I mean, Batman vs. Superman takes itself so seriously, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely
and it starts to feel bad after a while. You're just like, it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel good. This universe doesn't feel good.
It wears on you as a viewer. Like that movie really wore on me, and I was just like, this is terrible. It's terrible, and I love Batman so much. And
they're such big, Superman and Batman, like they're the huge giant characters.
Yeah, the idea of Superman versus Batman was this incredible idea, and Zack Snyder just blew it apart. Like, worse than Michael Bay ever could have done with any film. All his films combined were not bad.
Not collectively as bad as...
exactly.
As letdowny as...
oh my gosh. And it looks like they're trying to take a fun little spin with Suicide Squad.
They're trying. Hopefully it works.
I mean, it looks like they... I think some pictures are coming out from the reshoots they did this summer. They're now showing a picture of Harley Quinn in the mental institution as a psychologist.
Okay, yeah.
So before she went crazy with the Joker, essentially.
Right.
And it shows them interacting, so it's going to show their origin story, essentially.
Yeah, right.
He's in a straight jacket and everything.
The whole...
But in the pictures, he's leaning forward and he's got a smile on his face. And like there's one picture where she gets up like on the desk and everything like across, and like, she's right up in his face, like, you know. So I'm so iffy on this movie. Like, I'm just... Like, I want it to be great. Like, I want it to be irreverent and random and just awesome fun, but really have this good continuity feel to it. So I'm excited for what comes next in that universe.
If they finally learned that they can do, like, a serious plot and have serious consequences and have continuity and theme and all that, but also do lighthearted stuff and not take itself completely seriously.
I mean, this is all over the Marvel universe. I mean, look at Civil War. Like, when Ant-Man goes inside of Iron Man's suit.
Which was
just
fantastic.
Like this, it was an amazing scene. Like, he goes down to ant size and he goes in Iron Man's suit and he just fucks everything up. And it's great. You're just like Iron Man has no idea what's going on, and then he just pops out and
it's serious there. And it's there's a big fight and it's serious, and like you're actually
and this is during a very serious fight.
And they're using the characters' abilities in ways that are like interesting, and they're using, but like the thing that the Marvel universe really does that I like is that they've really gotten good at is using like character interactions to like explain large plot points. Like the differing opinions of Captain America and Iron Man aren't so much told to us. We're shown them through their actions and their behaviors and how they treat each other. And like that's what you're supposed to be using. Like that's what the superhero genre is good for, is not walls of text, but having characters interact and explain ideas and the interaction of ideas through their actions and behaviors.
Which is kind of, I mean, if you look, I'll take an example of kind of how we got to this point of the Deadpool movie.
Yeah.
This was done by 21st Century Fox, right?
Yes, it's a Fox movie. So the X-Men franchise is all Fox.
Okay, so Deadpool does become a part of X-Men at one point or another.
In comics, he's technically a mutant. Like, at some point it was revealed. Like, I'm not super up on my Deadpool.
I don't really. It's whatever. So the movie was great. Broke the fourth wall. Did a bunch of great things. It was hilarious. It had a fairly good story. The characters around them weren't very interactive, and it just wasn't good. Like, they mainly used Colossus and then some smaller female mutant that had a ridiculous name that I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Like, it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she ends up kind of saving the day in the end of the movie. It's just but the movie worked. It worked great. It created this great universe. I really hope they keep this universe. I mean, they're going to. There's going to be a sequel.
Yeah, there has to be.
He already
made too much money.
He says at the end of the movie that Bishop is going to be a part of the world after this point.
Which is, if they use kind of... So Bishop is one of those, like... My comic lore knowledge is all over the place, but Bishop's one of those characters that's just ridiculous. Like, his lore... His lore makes no sense, and taking him seriously just makes him suck as a character, because he's nonsense.
But if he's in the Deadpool universe...
But if he's in the Deadpool version, he's perfect Deadpool fodder for just, like, you time travel, like, every 2 minutes, and everything breaks every time you... Like, he makes no sense, and he's perfect for Deadpool.
Exactly. And this isn't in our topics at all, but I kind of want to bring up Gambit again. Like, I really hope they put Gambit kind of in this universe. Colossus is there already. I mean, and he's funny. But he's like, he's the guy trying to make everything serious, you know, and it works how they play off each other. It's near perfect.
The X-Men movies are totally in the exact same space that, or in a very similar space as the comics and Marvel Comics were that created Deadpool in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, they've built the exact same environment.
Exactly what's happened, yeah. I have Gambit is my favorite superhero.
A lot of people like Gambit. Like,
of all time.
I didn't really, like, think about this or notice this, but then, like, you started talking about Gambit, like, a lot of people really like Gambit. He's
a badass.
But he's not like a stock badass. He's not just like,
No. He's just like, he's very romantic and poetic, and like, you know, he kind of has like that Creole, you know, from like
he's got the
southern
Creole accent. He's got the.
I mean.
But he's
very
suave,
Cajun, and he's suave, and he has all these great features to him, and Channing Tatum is on board to play the character.
Okay, yeah.
I like Channing Tatum. Like, he's great in pretty much everything he does. Like, people don't take him seriously, really, as an actor, I feel.
I think he just, like, bad role choice, if anything.
Maybe.
Like, I think he was in a lot of stuff that people were just kind of like, I mean, who cares
but
about this character?
I love, like, the Jump Street movies. Like,
that's
oh
where
God.
I became on board with him, was the
that's
21
where I
Jump
really
Street.
became on board with him, yeah.
Because, like, I didn't see it in theaters, and it was just, like, on TV one day, and I came in, like, halfway through the movie, and I was watching, and I was like, dude, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He is, like, his timing is perfect, his delivery is great, like, he was just wonderful in it.
So I think, and again, they can't put him in the regular X-Men universe that they've already created. They can't.
Yeah, no,
they have to kill that.
It would destroy it.
It needs to be dead. Who is it? Rayner?
Ratner?
Brett Ratner.
Yeah, Brett Ratner.
Just jump off a cliff, buddy.
Get rid of him. We don't need any more of him.
We don't need any more of his films.
Like Zack Snyder and Brett Ratner, we could just
get
rid of them.
Snyder and Ratner, let them go out together and do something.
Yeah.
I want to see what they do together. That'd be crazy.
That would be the best, worst movie
It'd be the best, worst. Yeah, there'd be so many Razzies for that movie. It'd be ridiculous. But again, if they put Gambit in this world, I think he could really work as a character. I really do.
Like if they kind of like
especially if they gave us a great rogue too. Like,
did they? Is she okay?
No. There's no mention of her being in this. I'm just saying because Gambit and her, they're very much so a love interest.
That was for a long time. Like, I don't know. Their comic history, I think, is a little bit different, but definitely for our childhood, the X-Men cartoon.
The X-Men cartoon, which they are basing random stuff off of the cartoon.
Go
I mean, they've done that already. So if they take just their relationship out of it, and they really give us a cool rogue character that can fly, and she has super strength. She's not this like, oh, I can take your power, and then we both almost die because of it.
Well, yeah, like the taking your power thing is what makes their romance so interesting. Is because he is the suave guy, and like he really is like romantic,
so
and like
romantic,
you can't touch
they
her.
Can't touch
like that's crazy. Yeah,
that's great. They could do so much good with this. I'm getting myself too hyped up for it. I really am. Like,
I just want to see
the Gambit Rogue movie. Something that I have no idea what they have planned for it.
But it would be, dude, a Gambit Rogue movie? That would be pretty cool. Like, just thinking about it, like, if they did it decently and it didn't take itself too seriously.
And then you could have cameos with Deadpool and Colossus and kind of make this, like, this new, like, Neo X-Men.
I'd love to see them...
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see them take, which they're not going to do, because they're already making Age of Apocalypse 2 or whatever the fuck, but, like...
Wait, whoa.
Like, pre-production, I want to say they're still going with whatever that continuity is.
Are you serious?
I feel
thought
like
that was over.
Like, whatever the result... I don't know. I feel like they're still going... I want to say I heard something, but I don't know, so...
Yeah, go on.
Because we didn't do research on this part.
No, this is really off the cuff. This is not in our notes.
But it's like, yeah, I'd really like to see them take the Deadpool movie and use that as like basically a reboot to the entire X-Men franchise and just be like, yeah, this is the new continuity. It starts here. This is kind of the new tone we're taking.
Here's the problem. I'm going to cut you off because here's the problem. Because we just said we grew up as kids loving these characters.
Yeah, and that's totally like a nostalgia payoff.
It's not just a nostalgia payoff, but they still want to appeal to children in general. Like, Deadpool, they didn't care because that character doesn't give a shit and he likes to cut people up.
Yeah, that's his whole thing,
like, he can get himself cut up and deal with it, and he makes a joke out of it most of the time. Like, it's so, bringing these characters that I really want brought in, like, are they going to do that to appeal to, this different audience? Deadpool did amazing, so if they do it, it'd be smart.
Well, it's like...
In my brain.
Like, I know... So they don't... they don't need to keep making R-rated movies, or they don't need to worry about, like, getting that rating or deal... Like, they don't need to say, like, oh, the Deadpool movie's the anchor for this whole thing. Just as long as they were to just take a step back and say, okay, having some comedy, having some lightheartedness, having some seriousness, like, building a well-rounded universe with interesting characters that interact interestingly, and looking at the Marvel movies and saying, like, okay, if we have them interact and explain story points, and, like, just look at Marvel, for God's sake. Everybody making superhero movies, look at Marvel, look at the subtle structural things that they're doing that make those movies work. And take from, like, that Deadpool and just go into the X-Men franchise and universe and start applying those things and give us, like, a... Because I think it would be cool, like, not as a romantic comedy or something that appeals to kids, but just, like, these two people love each other and, like, they can't touch. Like, there's just fundamental, like, problems with this relationship. There's some really deep things you could deal with
You could deal with it, but you could also make jokes out of it.
Absolutely.
There's so much you could do. It works. I mean, if you look at Deadpool, they had, romance was a big chunk of why everything happened in that movie.
So I haven't seen Deadpool. I'm totally...
Holy
I know.
God. You would love it, dude. Out of anyone I know, you would be like, this is amazing.
It's everything. It looks fantastic. It sounds fantastic. I heard there's like a huge love story in it, and that doesn't bring it down, and it isn't a problem.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
And she's great. She was... I don't remember. She was the hooker on Firefly. I don't know her name. I have no idea. Anyways, we're going to move on. We always talk about comics and these movies, and we're going to keep doing it because the movies are going to keep coming out. So let's talk a little video games. E-League completed this weekend, and this is based off of a game that you and I both played for quite a while, but we played them in different stretches.
Yeah,
so you talked about Counterstrike. This is the game Counterstrike.
So Counter-Strike Go, or Global Offensive.
Well, actually, I mean, in our time frames, we're talking about Counter-Strike Source.
Oh, okay.
So a different iteration of it, basically.
Okay, so I was
They're all pretty close to the same idea.
They have the same basic structure. They have the same structure.
But the gameplay elements.
But there's a lot of basic mechanics that get changed in ways that have pretty massive effects in how certain things are dealt with.
Anyways. So you played this game for a while, and you kept telling me about how great it was, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's great. I was ignoring you, I just was like, yeah, whatever. I had played it a little bit, and I was like, I don't see what's so great about this, I didn't get the team aspect out of the game.
Well,
I didn't play the actual game.
Yeah, well, so it's so there was Counter-Strike 1.6 was the original Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
I played that a handful just casually. Then I got into Counter-Strike Source in 2005 really, really hard. I played competitively, worried about all this stuff. And I kept telling him, oh, you gotta play Source, it's this cool thing. And you came from a arena deathmatch background, right?
Yes, the deathmatch background.
Yeah, which is 1v1, or even if teams, but it's still
3v3.
Yeah,
usually.
But even team play, you're kind of...
You don't really communicate or anything, you just kind of go.
You're going 1,000 miles an hour blowing shit up, there's not, hey, go here, do this.
But it still requires, skill.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I stopped, I completely stopped playing Counter-Strike Source. I just cut it off completely.
Right.
Because I, just for a lot of reasons, but I just stopped. And then, of course, you got into it, right after I stopped.
Yep, yeah. And I got into it pretty hard. At first it was light, and then all of a sudden, next thing I know, I was on the team. And next thing I know, we have a league coming up.
Dude,
and I'm,
paying
for a league, and I'm like, what the hell?
Dude, I have practice?
Practice?
It
seriously?
Really quick, all of a sudden,
it was an amazing team game, and the idea behind it is so well done.
Well, so much work, because it's a lot slower pacing, but the slower pacing builds a lot of tension.
In comparison to what the background I came from.
Yeah, in comparison to just 1,000 mile an
hour. Which
I
had to get used to it. It was a huge change.
Oh yeah, because I actually played a lot of deathmatch and stuff before I got into really got into Source, and then once I made that switch, it was just oh my god, this is a huge step in a different direction, but some of the skills transferred, aim and...
You gotta be much more subtle in your actions and really pay attention to your team around
deliberate.
You.
You have to be very deliberate.
Extremely deliberate play styles. Just a great game, man. I still love it. I still love watching it, even though I don't play it anymore. But I love watching it. And so that's why I want to talk about E-League.
Which is a thing that they really just started figuring out how to do. So when I played Source, I couldn't stand watching it. I hated just watching it yourself, just in a TV stream where you can...
Right.
You're all right, whatever.
On Twitch or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, just when you, switch between... When you're actually, in server,
Oh, yeah.
And that just kind of... Because then it's just you flipping around and you're oh, whatever.
Yeah.
And then when people would cast it, it was just uninteresting. They'd take bad camera angles, or they would just sit in one player's view, and all the action would be happening. They'd be they'd have to wail through all the characters.
Trying to find it, yeah. They're finding their place now with it.
Yeah, they've really, in the last few years, figured out kind of how to present Counter-Strike to an audience, with a single monitor to an audience, and
and it works.
And
I got sucked into whenever I could watch it, and it aired on TBS, so that's a huge step for competitive gaming.
Which
I mean, yeah, you can bring up MLG all you want before with Halo.
But again, like, that had the same problem of bad presentation. Like,
right.
Every previous, like, really until, like, because even League and Dota aren't on TV yet. Like, not that I want
not
TV
really,
sucks,
no.
but previous incarnations of competitive gaming on TV have just, the presentation has just been so bad.
Yep.
Like, they're really like, oh, flashy colors, look at all this crazy shit. And like, nobody's here for this.
Yeah.
When does these people compete? Like, we don't care about any of this stupid pageantry bullshit. And they finally have just gotten to a point where, like, yeah, no, we have like a cool set or whatever, and we put them in soundproof booths. They have the face cams. They figured out how to, like, what to do during the downtime. Like,
it's near perfect.
The casting is a million times better. The analysis desk is fantastic. Like,
it's really fun to watch. So I'll just recap it real quick. The grand final was on Saturday.
The grand final was...
Oh, sorry. It was a couple days ago.
A few days before recording, yeah.
Yeah. That was, yeah.
Hey, everybody. Every Saturday previous to when you listen to this is when the Elite Finals.
So a couple of days ago, the grand final happened, and it was the Swedish team Fnatic, who was the heavy favorite, against the Polish team Virtus Pro. Virtus Pro wins 2-0. That means they won 2 maps. That's kind of how the game works.
So instead of having like periods or quarters or you play just on a map, which there are different maps. So instead of having a single field, there are different fields of play.
Right.
And you play to first to 16 rounds because it's a round-based game. So first to 16 rounds on a map wins that map.
Yep. They won 2-0. I mean, they really
something of an upset on one of the maps, right?
The first map, yeah.
Okay,
So in tournament play for Counterstrike, in at least in the majors, you have a map pool that you pick from, and you can,
because there's only a handful of maps that are actually like worth playing.
Yeah, a lot of the maps in the game just no.
Yeah.
So anyways, they can ban maps as they go through. You know, the team captains, I guess, communicate somehow. They do this thing where they ban maps and then they pick maps that they're actually going to play. Fnatic, they didn't think they were making a mistake, and they picked Cobblestone, a map that I always hated. I never liked it. It's now in a form where you can kind of play it well.
So, they just flipped it, so it was really defense-sided for the longest time, old Cobblestone incarnations. And the newest incarnation is super offensive.
Well, I don't know. I'd argue with that a little bit. It's still pretty defensive. Like,
is it?
Yeah, you have to, the way that you have to rotate, when something happens, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess you're right. It's really offensive.
I'm just like, the things I've been hearing.
Offense.
Well, it's like the things I'm hearing is that the offensive team is actually at an advantage in the current incarnation, where in previous incarnations it was heavily defensive favorite.
Yeah, I guess I could agree with that.
Okay.
Anyways, so Fnatic really has been, I mean, throughout the E-League tournament, they had been playing Cobblestone very well. I mean, this is a team that had only lost 2 maps in the whole tournament. That's it. So these guys aren't familiar with losing very often.
Not in this tournament.
So the grand finals comes up, and they pick Cobblestone as their map, and they're like, we got this.
We're good at this.
This is what we're good at right now. Like, we kill it. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, no, pick Cash. Like, not only do I enjoy Cash more as a map, just wanting to watch it more, but I'm like, you guys rock on Cash. Like, you're so good. It's stupid. Well, Cobblestone didn't exactly go in their favor.
It did not pan out.
They ended up losing. It went to the next map, Mirage, and Virtus Pro. They had just had the nail in the coffin already. I mean, Fnatic had one shining moment where you're like, maybe? And then it did not happen. Yeah. Virtus Pro just shut it down, and they did a very good job of it. So props to them for winning this grand final, the first really big one on television.
Yeah, big fun. Do you know what the prize purse was?
1.4 million.
So this is a good pool.
It was a pretty good pool. Yeah, they pulled in quite a bit individually.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear that these people they can almost make a living pretty much off this now. I mean, most of these guys are teenagers. You got to keep this in mind, or up to the age of 30. There's really no one older than that plays the game at a very high.
One of the guys on the team that won is 30.
Taz. Yeah, Taz is 30 years old. But I mean, I said up to 30. I mean, you know,
yeah.
but past that, like, it's really not there competitively.
Unlike a lot of other sports where you do have people go into their 30s and
their mid-30s
into their mid-30s, like, competitive gaming is not at that
point. Because the new guy that's freaking awesome comes in and he's a 15-year-old that you can't stand because your maturity levels are very different.
Well, but so
and the way that they pick up players is very much like real sports now, where they go after
traditional sports, not real sports.
Oh, sorry. Traditional sports where they go after players with a specific skill set.
Yeah.
So they don't care about they're like, you guys have to learn to work together like every other sport.
Yeah,
like I don't care if you guys get along or not.
Yeah, no. Well, there's coaches now. For the longest time, there weren't coaches. Now there's coaches.
Yeah,
and
there's coaches they're usually like ex-team members or something like that, or they're very familiar with the players on the team.
Yeah.
So it's just it's working. I'm glad to see it working on TV. It's great to see. It really
as long as they keep evolving it, I think the next few years are going to be really interesting to see how esports moves forward and how it's presented.
Yeah,
like I think, and like I'd really love to see some like game developers really jump on board and really build things into the game to help it even more. Like I think we're gonna get some really cool stuff in the next few years.
I hope so.
Just as spectators, now that we're too old to compete.
Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's exactly it. Like I still have friends that compete. It's whatever. I mean.
Well, I mean, you can always like keep playing.
But at this level is pretty different.
Yeah. No. There's no dream left for us. We're not going pro. So.
Yeah. So we were going to talk about another video game type that is kind of.
You want to do that, or do you want to get into?
We're going to skip that this week.
Okay.
We're running a little long.
Sorry, viewer questions. We're not.
No, this is for viewer questions.
But was this viewer questions?
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about.
Oh, I thought we were skipping.
God, come on, Dan. No. We are going to skip some video game talk and move into movies.
No. You know what? It's actually relevant to make this joke. We're skipping talking about Vainglory, much in the same way that Matt Damon is skipped on Jimmy Kimmel's show quite often.
What the hell are you talking about? I don't even know the reference.
Oh man, so Jimmy Kimmel, he did this joke forever and ever where he was like, at the end of the show, he'd be like, "Hey, sorry, Matt Damon, we didn't have time for you." Whether or not Matt was there, and like, or most of the time when Matt just wasn't there, he was just something he said. And then there was an episode of Jimmy Kimmel where he was like, Matt Damon's here, and then he listed all these things that Matt Damon done, and he spent the entire interview time listing these things, and he goes, "Well, I'm sorry, we're out of time for you." So they have this whole long, like, just in-joke for the Jimmy Kimmel. It's hilarious. Like, if you watch the stupid shit that they do with each other, because Matt's totally in on it. He seems like a really cool guy. And
he really does.
Yeah, so we have this topic that we've now skipped, I think, 3 episodes in a row.
Yeah, we'll get to it. It's Vainglory is an amazing video game that I love right now.
MOBAs and Vainglory.
Yeah, we'll get to it. It's just, we keep running along.
Right,
so,
yeah, so we don't have time for that, but we do have time for Matt Damon.
Yeah, this was a viewer or a listener question.
I mean, you know what, they might have stared at a still image of our podcast for an hour and a half, so they might be viewers. But yes, a listener sent this one.
She's a good friend of mine, Misha, and she brought up the point of there's a movie coming out called The Great Wall, and there's controversy behind it,
of course,
and it's mainly controversy, in my opinion, based on what's happening in America at the moment.
It's it's controversy.
But let's talk about the movie. Let's talk about what we have kind of pinned down here. So The Great Wall is a movie. That wasn't my point. I was continuing
the end. Good to see everybody next week.
So The Great Wall is the movie that's coming out, and Matt Damon is the lead.
Yeah, he's the
and
lead.
It's essentially what we know about it. We know very little about
Matt
it.
Damon is the lead. Willem Dafoe is in the movie.
Willem Dafoe is he's like the second lead behind Matt Damon.
He's getting top billing up there with Matt. And
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, Peter Pascal. I don't know who he is. Is he in anything?
Probably.
Yeah, okay. We didn't do that much research.
This is a movie that I'm not gonna like. I know I'm not gonna like it. Like, I have no plans, no intentions on watching this film. But it's in the media. Like, it's a big topic right now.
So just like, you know, we're going to this part. Yes, go with the media. What's up?
So it's it's a Chinese movie, so it's made and funded by Chinese.
Yeah, so it was
media.
filmed in like the Chinese mainland. It's funded by two companies like China Media Group and LaVision, which is a Chinese company. And then it's also being funded by like Legendary
Wanda Group.
No, yeah, Legendary Pictures, which is now owned by the Wanda Group, which is a Chinese conglomerate. Like,
right.
All the money's coming from China. Universal Pictures has distribution rights in America and wherever I assume else they have distribution rights.
Okay.
But that's basically all they're there for. So it's Chinese backed. It was filmed in China. It's a movie about like Chinese history. It's an obvious fictionalization of Chinese history.
Very big fictionalization, yeah.
But yeah, like it's about Chinese history, and it stars a white guy and has some amount of Willem Dafoe, who's another white guy in it,
right?
And Pedro Pascal, who's Chilean. So,
but it also stars a lot of Chinese actors as well.
Yeah, like everybody else in the movie is from China or I assume East Asia somehow.
It's also worth noting that it is written by white guys.
Yeah, it's written by a lot of white
Brooks
guys.
is the key writer on it, and then Tony Gilroy, who did all of the Bourne movies.
The Jason Moore movies, yeah.
I mean, which is all Matt Damon.
So there's probably a reason why Matt Damon got considered for this. But
yeah. And then another reason Matt Damon was probably considered for this film is you mentioned to me that he's known in China.
Yeah, so there's so in 2015, so in China the government controls a lot of what media, especially foreign media, is illegal to present to the Chinese public. And in 2015, there was only a handful of like foreign movies that were allowed to come out, and one of them was The Martian. So,
such a bad movie.
Which you apparently don't like.
Some people loved it. I hated it.
A lot of people loved it, dude. Like,
I hated it.
You're in the minority. I think you're in the minority on that one, but
yeah, I am.
Yeah. So, but that came out, and Matt Damon's actually got really big. To some extent, he has some recognition in China. Like,
right.
He's a name. He's a foreign name, and you're like, oh, this guy. Okay, cool. He's cool, and like they know him there.
So as far as I can tell, a Taiwanese actress, I believe she's like Taiwanese and Chinese, maybe.
I didn't look into her.
Yeah, her name is Constance Wu. She's in a TV show called Fresh Off the Boat.
I have no idea what that is.
Nail on the head though with the title. Like really, I mean, come on. And she's complaining that this is like it's whitewashed. That she's making it a racial...
Or she's asserting that it's... I wouldn't say she's complaining.
Well, she asserts very, very big. I have a quote from her here.
Okay.
She's quoted as saying, "We have to stop perpetuating the racist myth that only a white man can save the world."
So that's...
We're talking about a fictional movie where monsters attack the Great Wall of China.
Yeah, so like... But... I'm just going to stumble through this sentence, but... So, there is, like... She's referencing just the greater... Like, white guys are just... They save everybody all the time. Like, every freaking movie is either a white guy, and recently we get some other colors in there, but it's usually just like a white guy who's either ridiculously skilled or rich, or... Like, I mean, it's usually just a white guy. That's just... how Hollywood media has evolved. Whoever's in charge of it, like America, that's just what's happening. It is, and like so she's got a point there, but all that other stuff that we said before we've read that quote is like reasons why she's kind of inaccurate on this one.
And she really goes off on it. I have another quote. She said, "Our heroes don't look like Matt Damon. They look like Malala, Gandhi, Mandela."
Well, I mean, if you're going to be hyperbolic, you might as well pick some hyperbolic ass names. But
right? Like, do you see any of those heroes in history being famous action characters?
Jumping off of things and flying around and throwing spears and shit? Yeah, not really.
No.
I don't think those people who specifically are known for like being imprisoned or sitting around doing nothing or not doing nothing, but sitting around being peaceful are not action stars. Exactly,
and I'll finish it off with another quip from the Hollywood Reporter article that I read.
Okay.
And it's quoted as saying, she rejected traditional explanations for the inclusion of white big-name stars in movies such as The Great Wall, writing, and this is her quoting again, a quote from her again.
Being quoted through the Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah, as saying, "Think only a huge movie star can sell a movie? That has never been a total guarantee. why not try to be better? And money is the lamest excuse in the history of being human, which I'm going to comment on that in a second.
Okay.
And she put, so is blaming the Chinese investors, which no one's blaming
That's
them.
not, she's saying blame at that, because that's not blame, that's like,
her words, yes.
Yeah, but like I'm not on board with that statement, because it's not blame worthy, it's just literally them saying like, hey, this person has, and like this person has recognition here in our homeland, this person also has recognition in another place that maybe we're trying to break into. Let's build some bridges.
Yep.
Let's, and yeah, you know what? It isn't a guarantee, but it is. This controversy certainly is helping out. Like,
yeah, and this director is the same director that has done other Chinese American films, like Hero.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
he brought this up, and he did like Hero and something else, and
some other movies that honestly they weren't that great.
Yeah, but he did, like, he has that kind of cross-cultural
it's something
background.
He seems to be interested in doing. But I want to go back on the quote, money is the lamest excuse in the history of being human. So, money is...
It's the lamest, it's the lame one, but it ain't the lamest.
Well, no, it's not the lamest, but money is kind of what runs the world.
That's the point we're at right now.
And a lot of producers and directors make movies to make money.
So...
This is their intent. It's their job. It's what they do.
No, yeah, the machine is there, like... the machine is there, like, half the time you just have to make money. Like, that's the reason why so many, like, hopefully, like, not cash grabby, but there's a lot of movies that get made specifically because it's like, yeah, people are going to come see this. It's a big summer movie.
But is it because it's a white guy is in the lead?
Well, no, but I'm saying, like, there's a lot of movies that get made to make money, and then we get the cool stuff from it. Like, that's how the system works. Like, all the artsy, like, Emmy-nominated stuff,
but
that all comes...
we have to talk about the racial part of the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to... This is what she's talking about.
Yeah, well,
what she's upset with is perpetuating the racist myth that only a white man can save the world. Independence Day... I remember a black dude saved the world that time.
Well,
that was pretty cool.
A black guy got the white guy to where he needed to, so the white guy could save the world, and then the black guy got him back.
He was pretty much the overall hero in that film.
He was certainly the character everybody cared the most about.
Well, yeah. I mean, Will Smith is. I mean, he's iconic now.
Well, come on, Jeff Goldblum's character is the virus is what saved everybody. Like, without the virus, Will Smith just flew a ship and died. Like,
well, good God. My whole point is that's not what this movie is. She's just...
No, I think...
She's really being fueled by racial tension in America at the moment.
I think, if anything...
I mean, this quote, why not try to be better? What does that even mean?
That's such a generic... So, like, most of what she's saying... Like, if I had to go into this, and this is a topic I'm going to bring up again at some other point when we do more serious crap, is, like, attention economics and how social media is encouraging people to behave poorly and say ridiculous, hyperbolic things.
Yeah.
I think, to some extent, she's right. I don't think she's even remotely... like, the extent to which she is right is not even close to as loud as she's being about it. Like, yeah, there is some undercurrent of, like, it would make way more sense to have a Chinese actor here.
Well, she's the catalyst for why this is a controversy right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
She is the main catalyst.
She's the loudest voice.
Yeah, it's all based on her, and I gotta say, I feel like she's wrong.
So you think she's wrong?
Yeah.
I think she's right to a degree that doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much how I feel about it.
Yeah, there's validity to what she's saying, but there's so many other things at play here that it's kind of you're really reaching here. I think she's really, really, really reaching beyond an amount that seems fair or reasonable.
I mean, the quote of our heroes don't look like Matt Damon; they look like Malala and Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. Like,
I feel like
that's really reaching, and it's
especially
it's almost race baiting, honestly. Like,
because you know what, like, heroes in America, like, we have like George Washington. We have a lot of heroes that are pretty violent and don't look like Gandhi and look like Mandela and shit. So yeah, like. What is she even getting at? That like that we don't have action heroes, like we don't have people that go to war and are heroes. Like, what is that?
I mean, yeah, like we have people in history, and I mean, it's safe to say every American or anyone that goes to war and comes back alive is considered a hero. Or anyone that's
anyone from
war.
any nation that goes to war and comes back is usually just, like, we put them up on hero. In every nation, you put up people as heroes that go to war for you because that's what we do.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah. So.
I don't know what you wanted us to talk about on this. Like, I think we've kind of said our piece about it.
I don't really agree with what she's saying. Like,
no,
there's some validity to it, but no.
I personally think it's race baiting. I think she's trying to really pull something that isn't there.
Well, no, and that's what I'm saying. Like, when I brought up the attention economics thing, we live in a system where that behavior is acceptable and promoted by the system itself
at the moment. Yeah.
And so her doing this is actually building a lot of like equity for her in attention. Like, a lot of people are paying attention to her.
Yeah, but in my eyes, in a negative way, and
absolutely, it's always in a negative. Everybody on social media gets paid attention to.
But it's kind of like the old saying of like, any news or any press is good press.
Yeah, and that's like, so she's doing something that's helping her out a lot, and we don't agree with it. Like,
yeah. So that's that, folks.
So there you go, viewer question.
Thanks, Misha. I'll talk to you soon. And that's going to be it for episode 4, guys. We ran really long.
Yeah, screw it. No, these are just all going to be an hour and a half. Like, that's just the length of the show.
It's going to be fun. I mean, just hold on with us on the ride, and it's just going to evolve.
If anybody made it this far, there's a reason we have time codes in the description. You can skip around. Please tell everybody. The one person that makes it through the whole podcast, tell everyone they can skip around.
Yeah, you can skip around to whatever section you care about. And this is another thing that Misha brought up to me right away. When we released the first episode of the podcast, she was like, I just clicked on this, and that's what I wanted to hear. And I was like, exactly, like...
Cool, good, yeah.
Use the time code. Like, if you're not interested in video games, you don't have to listen to us talk about video games.
Yeah, just jump past it.
Just skip it.
Fine. It's American culture. There's a lot of culture.
Yeah, there's a lot of culture, and we're going to get into a lot of it in a lot of different ways. And this is the first time we've talked about, like, societal...
Like non-media stuff. So
yeah. Societal, something happening in society related to media.
And there will be plenty more of that. I already got plans for the next episode.
Yeah, so it's just, august8.org. Please go there. Talk to your senators, do whatever you can.
Do something. Just bring it up to other people.
Just talk to people about
hey, I heard this is ridiculous.
There's so much misinformation about this very positive thing that it's heartbreaking.
It's ridiculous. Like, even if you're like me, like, I have no investment in vaping. It's very little to me.
Yeah.
I don't care, but like, what's happening is so ridiculous. Like, it's just... Tell people how ridiculous this is. Like, whether or not they care about vaping, like, this is just absurd.
Yeah, and the more people that talk about it, the more it can be helped.
The more difficult it is for the absurdity to keep happening.
Exactly. You guys have a good one. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you soon.
See ya!